We give a special welcome to His Holiness Hanuman Prashek Swami. Let's give him a big Haribo, Haribo. We're very grateful to Maharaj for coming to Dallas. It's been many years, and we pray that it happens again soon. And we pray that we have the good fortune of having this association for even longer next time. Thank you so much, Maharaj, for taking the time to come here to Dallas. We're very grateful to you for coming and inspiring us with your association. Hare Krishna. His Holiness Hanuman Prashek Swami Maharaj ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Gopi Janabalaba Girivaradari Jaya Gopi Janabalaba Girivaradari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Jamuna Tira Banachari Jamuna Tira Banachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janabalaba Girivaradari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Jamuna Tira Banachare Shishi Radha Madhava Astasaki Ki Jai Narayanam Namaskrityam Nadam Chaiva Narottamam Devim Sarasvatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayat. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, let us offer our respectful obeisances unto Narayana and his constant companion Nara, unto Goddess of Learning Saraswati, and the author Vyasadeva Jai, Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So according to my philosophy, the 8th canto, Canto 8, Chapter 4, Gajendra returns to the spiritual world. Better if I use the database.io. Okay. And texts number 11 and 12. Evam Shaptva Gato Gastyo Evam Shaktva Gato Gastyo Bhagavan Reprasanugaha Indradyumno Pirajashir Dishtam Tadupadarayan Apana Kaunjarim Yonim Atmasmriti Vinashinim Hariyarcha Nananubhavena Yagajatvepi Anusmritaha Boliega. Boliega? Bolo? Chant? Evam sattva gato gastyo Bhagavan Ripasanugaha Advadyumno Pirajarshir Distantarupadaarayan Apanam Konjarim Yonim Amasmitir Vinashanim Hariyacharyanubhavena Yagajapenus. Ladies, one lady chant. It's too long, yeah. Evam sattva gato sakto Nipasanugaha Inyajuna Pirajarshi Istamuparayavayam Apana Konjarim Yonim Atmasmitir Vinasinim Haryarchana Anubhavena Yadbhakta Anusmitai Balika. Evam Svatva Gato Gastyo Bhagavan Ripasana Jaha Indradyumno Pirajarshir Dishtam Tadupadarayan Apanausharam Konim Atrasmitya Vinasinim Hariyarchanubhavena Yagajatvephyanismriti Evam sattva gato gastyo Bhagavan Nepusanugadaha Pirajarser Higarupapadarayam Anganavavekam konim Let's do the verse, yeah. Thank you for your intention. Sri Sukha Uvacha. Sri Sukadev Goswami said, Evam, thus, Shaptava, after cursing Gataha, left that place. Agastyaha, Agastya Muni. So after cursing, Agastya Muni left that place. Okay, why not? Bhagavan, so powerful. Nripa, O king, Sa Anugaha, with his associates. Indradyumnaha, King Indradyumna. Api, also. Rajarshahi. Although he was a Rajarishi. Dishtam, because of past deeds. Where we are here. Okay. Tat, that curse. Upadarayan, considering. Apana, boy. Apanaha. Apanaha. Got. Conjurim, of an elephant. Yonim, the species. Atmasmriti, remembrance of one's identity. Vinashanim, which destroys. Hari, the Supreme Personality of the Godhead. Archana Anabhavena, because of worshipping Yat, that, Gajatve, in the body of an elephant, Api, although, Anushmitahi, the opportunity to remember his past devotional service. My God, okay, yeah. So we are surprised that we are giving class. But then we remember that Lord Chaitanya's mercy goes to the most fallen first. Okay, so here we are, the most fallen person in the room. Thank you. And by your mercy only, we'll be able to give the class. Therefore, if it's a miserable class, it's your fault, not mine. Yes, my uncle was a lawyer. Oh, yeah. Okay. So, according to our perspective on this particular part of the Bhagavatam, this is the story of, was it Gajendra Moksha? Yeah. And there's a whole question about, what is this, eighth canto. So, in the first, well, okay, where do we start? Let's go back. We'll go back to the first verse. Why not? Okay. The first canto is a preface, right? A preface. What's in the preface of a book? What do you find in the preface of the book? Usually you just skip it, right? Skip the preface, skip the introduction, skip everything, go right to the first chapter, and can't figure out why you can't understand the book. Okay. So what's in a preface? What do you put in the preface there? That's the introduction. That's the introduction, pretty much, kind of. The introduction to text, okay. We have different guru, okay, yeah.
The purpose.
Yeah. Writer's Guide to Literature, they said 4 things, yeah. What is the purpose of the book? Okay. Under what circumstances it's being produced? Okay. What are the qualifications of the author? And what are the qualifications of the reader? Like that, okay. And I guess then overview, okay, could fall in either one. Okay, yeah. And of course we have the foreword, and after that, an editor's note, yeah. So, yeah, the first canto, what's the circumstance? You know, what's the purpose of the book? Krishna is left for his own abode. Okay, we need a new source of shelter. Okay, Maharaj Parikshit is an example of the injustice of Kali Yuga. And so he's an example of exactly what we're talking about. And so we're going to take advantage of Maharaj Pariksit to have a new incarnation. Yeah? And that's the purpose of Bhagavatam, is to give us the shelter now that Krishna is gone. And the qualifications of Maharaj Pariksit, his whole life is described there. When did his Krishna consciousness start? Okay, and Sukadeva Goswami is described there. And when did his Krishna consciousness start? In the womb? yeah. Okay. So then in the second canto, after getting all this background, Krishna leaves for Dwarka, Krishna, all these things, and Mara Bhishma disappears, the Pandavas disappear, Maharaj Pariksit appears. In the second canto, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Sukadeva Goswami starts to preach. He starts to answer the question like that. Yeah. And during the course of this, in the third canto, he's describing the appearance of Swayambhuva Manu. And then because of that, Maharaj Pariksit says, well, hey, tell me about the children of Swayambhuva Manu, because they're all very pious and so many incarnations appeared. So then one after another in the third canto, fourth canto, fifth canto, sixth canto, maybe all the way through the seventh canto, that's what's happening. You know? I'm going to give you an acronym, right? DAP up. Or if you're Spanish, DAP oop. DAP up. Devahuti, Akuti, Prasuti, Uttanapada, Priyavrata. Okay, you've gone through 6 cantos of the Bhagavatam with one acronym. That's the order they occur one after another. Third canto, Devahuti, she married who? Who was her son? Okay. Fourth canto, Dap up, Devahuti, Akuti married. It's very short. Ruchi and their son was Vishnu. Okay. Dap up, Devahuti, Akuti, Prasuti married, and we care about their son. Yeah, and he got the head of a goat. Yeah, made the beard too, long white beard. Like that. Yes, like that. Yeah. Our neighbor's goat in Calcutta was Rabindranath Chagul. That was the name of the goat, Rabindranath Chagul. Yeah. Okay. So first we have the Udi sisters, Devahuti, Akuti, Prasuti, and then the 2 brothers. Okay. And he was the father of? Yeah, there's a whole story. And then we go to Devahuti, Akuti, Uttanapada, Prasuti, Priyavrata, and here's his story, like that. And then in Dhruva's line, the Prachetas, they go underwater and they're doing austerities for some time and they come back out again and it continues like that. So it's very systematic, very well organized, and the author is taking advantage of this history to present more and more sophisticated, complicated ideas. First 2 cantos are Krishna's lotus feet. The third and fourth are his legs. Yeah. Fifth is his waist. Sixth, chest. Seventh, somewhere there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, okay. The 8th canto. I think the 8th canto is his throat. Yeah, somewhere there. Anyway, okay. So the 10th canto is his arms. The 8th and 9th are his arms. His shoulders. Okay. So we're up here pretty high. You know. In Sambandha, we approach Krishna and we realize what rascals we are, how we've done everything abominable we could possibly do to our loving master, and so we come and we apologize. This is Sambandha, and please forgive me, and we're bowing down at the feet, and we don't even dare look up. We're so ashamed. But after we're purified and we're showing that we're really sincere and we want to come back, then we're starting to go up. So 8th canto is pretty advanced. We're already coming to, looking at the master's arms and shoulders like that, And so in the course of that, we've already gone through all of Swayambhuva Manu, in many, many chapters. Then Maharaj Pariksit asks here in the 8th canto, what about the other 13 Manus, right? 13 Manus, yeah. What about the other 13 Manus? So they're being described one after another. And then Gajendra is occurring, and the Manu in this story is Vishnu. Yeah, because Vishnu, I think, is the Manu incarnation who comes and saves him, and that's why the story is there. You know, and why did he take this body of an abominable elephant and so on? That's why maybe he got arrested. Ninth canto, actually. Anyway, whatever. I tried to prepare for the class. So, my dear king, after Agastya Muni had thus cursed King Indradyumna, the Muni left that place along with his disciples. Since the king was a devotee, he accepted Agastya Muni's curse as welcome because it was the desire of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, although in his next life he got the body of an elephant because of devotional service, he remembered how to worship and offer prayers to the Lord. Please repeat. Sukadeva Goswami continued. My dear king, after Agastya Muni had thus cursed King Indradyumna, the Muni left that place along with his disciples. Yeah. Since the king was a devotee, he accepted Agastya Muni's curse as welcome because it was a desire of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, although in his next life he got the body of an elephant because of devotional service, he remembered how to worship and offer prayers to the Lord. That was purport. This is the unique position of a devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So out of all these things in the purport, Prabhupada's focusing on this. This is the unique position of a devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Although the king was cursed, he welcomed the curse because a devotee is always aware that nothing can happen without the desire of the Supreme Lord. Although the king was not at fault, Agastya Muni cursed him. Yeah. And when this happened, the king considered it to be due to his past misdeeds. Tate nukampam shu shamik shamanah. This is 10:14:8. Who's speaking? What is chapter 14? Yeah. Prayers by Lord Brahma. Very last of Prabhupada's purports, no? This is a practical example of how a devotee thinks. Wow. He regards any reverses in life as blessings of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He regards any blessings in life as blessings, reverses. Therefore, instead of being agitated by such reverses, he continues his activities of devotional service, and Krishna takes care of him and enables him to be promoted to the spiritual world, back home, back to Godhead. If a devotee has to suffer the reactions of his past misdeeds, the Supreme Lord arranges for him to be given only a token of these reactions. And very soon he is freed from all the reactions of material contamination. One should therefore adhere to devotional service, and the Lord himself will very soon see to one's promotion to the spiritual world. One should therefore adhere to devotional service, and the Lord himself will very soon see to one's promotion to the spiritual world. A devotee should not be disturbed by unfortunate circumstances, but must continue his regular program, depending on the Lord for everything. The word upadarayan, the word upadarayan, considering, is very significant in this verse. This word indicates that a devotee knows what is what. He understands what is happening in material conditional life. So we could talk about this for hours, right? We have to catch the airplane. We're leaving on a jet plane. Don't know when we'll be back again. John Denver, John Denver. Okay. So any questions or comments? It's, again, a very broad purport. Anybody here recently experienced any reverses in their life? Anybody? No? Nobody has? No. Oh my God. Usually every day, every day you're planning something. How many, you go through the day, how many times, I had to figure out how to use the electronic door lock, Okay. And after I got inside, it was like walking into the belly of a goat. It was completely, absolutely dark. There's no windows in that hall whatsoever. So then I tried to figure out where the light switch is. And I was walking down the light switch using my cane like a blind guy, and finally found the opposite wall. Okay, then went in, and the room was freezing to death. And I finally figured out how to turn the fan off, which is on the ceiling. So then I wasn't freezing to death in a hurricane. Then I found out the air conditioner was in the next room. So it's like one reverse after another. And Krishna is helping us. So many stories come to mind about this, about devotees misunderstanding things, not properly, and so on. This is unlimited. It's like almost like the entire life of a devotee is simply composed of contrary circumstances being educational. There's one after another. Yeah.
All right.
Upadharayan. But a devotee begins to see these things, understand them. Of course, there are different levels of devotees. Where to start? Okay. Karma bhya parito hare priyataya vyaktim jajur gyaninas. Upadeshamrita constitutes first instructions for neophyte devotees. So Upadeshamrita is a great place to start anything because it will deal with everything, right? It starts off talking about, Bengali Vaishnavas, then it goes to how to control your senses, then it goes to different levels of devotees, and it goes to the process, then it goes to Radhakund and Radharani and everything else. So everything is there, And the purports, then Prabhupada cites from the Acharyas, right? He's following Bhaktisiddhanta's commentary and Bhaktivinod's commentary in his words. But the verses he's citing are the key verses, the how do you call them in Spanish, clave, the verses that really are, we pound in the ground this verse to anchor this idea, pound this in the ground to anchor this idea. So the verses that are cited in Upadeshamrita, maybe about 50, you'll see that there are verses that are used again and again and again. Okay, Prabhupada quotes a verse here, right? Shushamikshemana, right? Yeah, many people probably have heard that many times. How many verses do you have to know 70% of the verses Prabhupada quotes? Some verses are one time from the Maha so-and-so Tantra Upanishad from Bhaktisiddhanta. But most of the verses are verses that, most of them they repeated. About what is 70% of those verses? How many verses is that Prabhupada uses? 10, 15, 100, 1,000? Huh? 100? 22? What I get a lot of times asking this question is about 50 or 60. It's about it, And it's very nice because Uttamadhikari, Madhyamadhikari just fixes the process. I got to follow the process. There's so many doubts I have, so many questions, but I don't doubt that I should try this out. I should try this out and give it a fair chance. I agree with the contract. The guru initiation does not require blind faith. Blind faith is condemned. All the first, second initiation is saying is that, you promise not to introduce any false doubts, right? You're not going to try and escape the process by introducing false doubts. No, real doubts are required, okay? So as long as we keep on answering your questions, you agree to keep on going ahead with the process, right? Yeah. And if we can't answer your questions, you're not obliged to follow the process. No blind faith required. But as long as we keep answering them, and solving your solutions, you're promising us you won't give up on us, you won't leave. Well, okay. Yeah. Okay, Madhyamadhikari, progress, right? Making progress, fixed in the process will work. I have many doubts, but I don't doubt the process. Uttamadhikari has come to the point of the conclusion. So and also their knowledge of Shastra is complete. They're reading books, they're understanding, they're taking verses to heart. They develop a logic of being able to organize the things, and somebody may have very vast intelligence and they have tremendous organization of text in these verses, and somebody may only be able to memorize 4 verses. If you memorize the 4 nutshell verses of Bhagavad Gita, what verse numbers are those? 10:8. It's very easy to remember. 108. 108. 10:8. 10:9. 10:10. And 10:11. If you just memorize those 4 verses, you'll be able to quote from Shastra in any circumstance. And in most cases, most people won't recognize that you're using the same 4 verses over and over again. Like that. Yeah. Well, you always know Shastra. Yeah. So different people have different intellects, different bodies, different subtle bodies. But Uttamadhikari means that they've realized the Shastra. Madhyamadhikari is not so connected. Uttamadhikari, and you have Shastric knowledge, you have it, and also it's organized in terms of practical life and so on. And free from the propensity to criticize others, very strict in following the process. Uttamadhikari. Okay, is Prabhupada Uttamadhikari? Is it blasphemous to say Prabhupada's Uttamadhikari? I would say maybe so, yeah. He's much more than an Uttamadhikari. Uttamadhikari is somebody still in Bhava stage. They still maybe not even have reawakened their full prema yet. So on. So it's okay. So everybody here should be Uttamadhikari, right? How do you know when you're Uttamadhikari? When you have doubts if you're an Uttamadhikari. That's one of the main symptoms. If you're sure you're Uttamadhikari, probably you're not. Yeah. But if you have doubts and well, maybe by Krishna's arrangement I've got this practice, I can quote scriptures and stuff. It's only Guru Kripa, any second it could fall away. They're using me for a special mission. Okay, yeah. So, Upadharayan. Devotee, Kanistha is worrying about these things, complaining about Krishna not taking care of me. Look, I surrendered to you and this bad thing happened. I'm a devotee and this bad thing happened. And, karmi, whatever, But a Madhyamadhikari is thinking, well, there must be some reason why this is happening, but I don't like it, It's kind of like Draupadi, right? Draupadi was complaining the whole time, no? They went into exile and she was complaining. Everybody was complaining. Yudhishthira was the only person who wanted to avoid the fighting and everything else. All the rest of them wanted to go back and, especially Bhima and Draupadi. In the Peter book Mahabharata, which Garuda and Tamal Krishna Maharaj went and saw, Draupadi, she comes to Yudhishthira in the forest and she says, I cannot understand how you can do this. This is totally unjust. We're living in the forest like animals and they're enjoying all these things and messing up the kingdom. I can't understand how this was going on. She said, I have more than love for you. I have respect for you. It's incredible, no? Your wife tells you she has more than love for you. She has respect for you. Wow, okay. Yeah. That's pretty good. Yeah, but I can't understand how you can do this. Fight! And Bhima is the same way. Upadarayan. But a devotee can be internal, and they can see, not only just imagining, Prahlad, how old was Prahlad Maharaj? 25 years old, 15 years old, 4 years old, 5 years old. How old are you? Huh? Okay, how old was Prahlad? 5. Little kid, no? Yeah, a little kid. Yeah. So Hiranyakasipu had him there with a razor-sharp, chrome beryllium steel sword, tried to kill him every way possible. And his father is sitting there drinking, I don't know, Budweiser beer or something, the king of beers, looking at him like that, and Prahlad's just standing there, Yeah. And he says, what is the source of your power, Prahlad? And what does Prahlad say? source of my power is the same as the source of your power and everybody's power. Vishnu! Yeah. And then what does Hiranyakasipu say? Where is this God of yours, Prahlad? And Prahlad says, he's everywhere. Okay. Is he in this microphone stand? Yeah. Yeah. So, Prahlad, blind faith is condemned, 434, Bhagavad Gita 434. So Prahlad looked, and he's just a little kid. He's as intelligent as a kid of a 5-year-old kid's intelligence. You know? He's different things, but basically he's just a little kid. So he looks and he says, is he there? He looks, and Prabhupada says that Lord Nrsingadev was making his presence felt. Yeah. And so when Prahlad looked, he said, yeah, he's there. Yeah. Yeah. One time in Los Angeles, they had I think it was Los Angeles, it was Nrsinga Chaturdashi, and they were going to have a really good drama, for the thing. He put on good dramas in Los Angeles and New York. So they made this column for part of the thing, and then they had the devotee, before the thing started, stand inside of it, and they put the little glue there and stuff, and he was going to come out with a Nrsingadev thing, and they, wow, the devotees are really going to be impressed. This is going to be really great, and so on. So anyway, then the program started, and the devotee had to stay inside there at the time like that. Then finally it went down to it, then Prahlad and everything else, and finally Hiranyakasipu said, is he in this column, Prahlad? And he said, yes, Then he went over and hit the column, and the column kind of shook, and this and that, and then he hit it again, and the column shook again, and he hit it the third time, and everybody heard this voice saying, I can't get out! So then Hiranyakasipu and Prahlad kind of, and then Nrsingadev came out. I was just feeling, So anyway, in this case, he came out of the column. Yeah. So yeah, devotee doesn't generate knowledge. A devotee is trying to look the right direction and see how Krishna is informing him. Upadharayan. He's investigating, So introspective, And then because of that, we begin to see this is Krishna's arrangement. And even if we don't see how it's Krishna's arrangement, we appreciate there's a reason why he doesn't want us to know what's happening. Okay. Any questions here? Because I can go on, for 7 days and 7 nights, I think, on this verse. It's such an incredible point. Questions, comments? Yeah. We'll start in the back there. Yeah. You're going to talk a little bit louder,
Marsh,
I guess.
thank you so much.
Okay, yeah.
Question is about curses.
About
and
what?
yes, I'm feeling
questions about
curses.
Cursing, okay.
Like how the devotees sometimes curse others.
Okay.
Yeah. Is that a sign of love? Is cursing
sometimes.
Love?
Narada Muni is giving benediction curses left and right, no? The Yamalarjuna running around with no clothes on, and so he just curses them to become trees, and somebody else, he curses them, So Narada Muni is always giving benediction curses, yeah. But that's why a devotee, yeah. Even if you're becoming angry at somebody, in your heart, you're still, trying to do the right thing, and even, this hurts me more than it hurts you. Well, why is it I can't sit down afterwards? And yeah. So yeah, as a devotee at heart, we're always trying to do good for everybody. We don't like to hurt people. Okay, somebody. Yeah. Oh, back there.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Yeah.
You said that sometimes Krishna puts us through reversals, and he doesn't want us to know what's happening. So why would he not want the devotee to know what or why they're experiencing some reversal?
You were born to be the death of 600 million Kshatriyas. What are you going to do? You're going to kill yourself. Right? Yeah, it's just too much for any human being to handle. Bhakti Siddhanta, very famous devotee, he organized a program with a bank. I'm turn the hearing and make it back down. He organized a bank with a program. Krishna and Rama in modern art. This is back in the 1970s. And the second place prize was this beautiful picture of Bhishma Dev, big picture of his face with all these character and the wrinkles in his face. And as you got closer, every wrinkle was one pastime. Like when the cows were stolen or this happened. And so it was very nice because every one of these experiences left, a mark in his face. It was very nice, But that was second place. First place was this picture, and it was like a picture of Draupadi, and she was in her night dress, and she had a candle in her hand holding a light, and it was like somebody she knew, like Kunti or somebody, or had knocked on the door and late at night, and she opened the door and was looking like with a kind of inquisitive face, and the candle, what is it, Kunti, what is it, Okay, Draupadi was a covered flame, but boy, that's, so what? That's a nice picture and stuff. Wow. Because then you notice her shadow. Her shadow is death personified. And it's a spooky death personified. So she's this innocent young girl coming and looking like this, and she doesn't know who she is. If she knew who she was, who could tolerate it? Who could live that life knowing what you're going to be the cause of? Same example. Krishna asked Bhishma, everybody knows this is going to be a dirty game of dice. Everybody knows there's some trick involved like that, And I think it's going to be all this controversy about what is dharma, what is adharma. And of course it's going to come to you to make a decision about what is dharma, what is adharma. So I want to ask some charity from you as a Kshatriya. You're a Kshatriya. You have to give me that. And so he says, okay, Devaki Nandana. What is it? Anything you want. I want that if it comes to you to ask if something is dharma or adharma, you won't make any comment. You won't say anything. He says, okay. So they dragged Draupadi in by her hair in a very, very embarrassing circumstance. You can imagine if somebody did that. Suddenly one of the ladies here, somebody drug you into the temple room during the Sunday feast screaming. Yeah, all the guys, everybody on earth is going to come over and try and help you, no? It was just an insane situation. And then nobody would protect her. Oh, he gave you a way before he gave himself away. What is dharma? What is adharma? And it's going back and forth. And finally it came to Bhishma, right? And he was going to say, of course, you morons, this is adharma. This is adharma. You don't drag a 15-year-old girl in this condition into a public assembly when you're supposed to be the leaders of the world. You're just about to say that. And the Indian movie, his right hand is about to pull his sword out of the scabbard to protect her, and his left hand grabs it, blood coming out to stop it because he promised. So finally he's there and he's seeing this situation. Is it dharma or adharma? And he's going to say it's adharma. But then he remembers, oh, Krishna asked me, this happened, not to say anything. This is terrible. This is a destruction of our dynasty. But Bhagavan is playing his game. I can't say. And so everybody thought he meant it was so fine he couldn't make a decision like that. But again, he didn't know. He thought that the best thing to do is this and that. But Krishna, I trust Krishna. I think he's God. I think he's a Dharma walking the earth in a human form. And it's a tough situation. I don't know. But okay, roll the dice. Bhagavan. Okay? So any question here?
Hi Krishna Maharaj, thank you for the class. Maharaj, when you were saying that Prabhupada is beyond Uttama Adhikari, so
you're going to have to talk clearly because I'm 40. Wait a second. I'll turn the hearing up here.
When you mentioned that Srila Prabhupada is beyond Uttama Adhikari, right?
Yeah, beyond Uttama Adhikari.
Yeah, so
Well, he is Uttama Adhikari, but he's more than that.
Yeah, so I remember hearing or reading him where he says that if a guru is Uttama Adhikari, he can take his disciple to that level, and if his guru is Madhyama Adhikari, he can take. So how do we understand this too, Maharaj? And honestly, a devotee, mostly when we take initiation, we are in a very new mostly neophytes, new, to the, how do we understand whether our Guru Maharaj is Madhyam or, Uttama and things like, so how do we reconcile all this?
Let's go back to first instruction for neophyte devotees. Yeah. No, we focused on the Upadeshamrita so much, I guess it's text number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Text number 5 at the end, there's a purport. I just happen to have Upadeshamrita right here. I wear it around my neck. Yeah. Okay, we go to text number 5. Okay. In this verse, Rupa Goswami advises the devotee to be intelligent enough to distinguish between Kanista Adhikari, Majjhima Adhikari, and Uttama Adhikari. And this fifth text is really for Majjhima Adhikari. It talks about Kanista Adhikari, and it says, don't be a Kanista Adhikari, become a Majjhima Adhikari. And then the next text is about the Uttama Adhikari. Okay. So yeah, if you come to Majjhima Adhikari, if you take second initiation, either formally or informally, then you should be able to distinguish who's a Kanista Adhikari, who's Madhya Adhikari, who's Uttama Adhikari. The devotee should also know his own position and should not try to imitate a devotee situated on a higher platform. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur has given some practical hints to the effect that an Uttama Adhikari Vaishnava can be recognized by his ability to convert many fallen souls to Vaishnavism. One should not become a spiritual master unless he has attained the platform of Uttama Adhikari. A neophyte devotee or a Vaishnava situated on the intermediate platform can accept disciples. Or accepting disciples, you're not a spiritual master. But such disciples must be on the same platform. Not that you're accepting people only, No, but they did this, okay. And it should be understood that they cannot advance very well towards the ultimate goal of life under his insufficient guidance. Therefore, a disciple should be careful to accept an Uttama Adhikari as a spiritual master. Yeah. And if you want to get our book, we need to talk about this. Okay. Somebody wanted to be initiated. And they're ready for it. Prabhupada said, anybody who lives in the temple, follows the program, chants 16 rounds a day, follows the 4 principles, follows the full program, can be initiated after 6 months. But for second initiation, there should be more consideration. Okay. So then they would send the beads to Prabhupada in Japan to chant on the beads. So Prabhupada had left and he'd gone to India. So they would forward the beads to Prabhupada in India. Then Prabhupada had left and gone back to New York. So they would forward the beads. So after some time, Prabhupada established that Karandar, Jayatirtha, several people could chant on the beads, right? Yeah, and he would accept the disciples, okay. And and then the names, I think some of the names were being selected by Nitai from different sources like that. They had to start with the same letter. What else? Okay. And I never physically talked to Prabhupada. I was in the room with him sometimes for confidential, more confidential, a little bit, things like that. So I probably already had like 1,000 disciples or something, so I was 1,127th son or daughter. Yeah. So my situation was, I was initiated. Who was I initiated by? Okay. So as far as I know, Jayatirtha chanted on my beads. Nitai chose my name. And Prabhupada accepted me because my temple president, Bhaktidas, recommended me. And Prabhupada was on the planet. And Prabhupada said when he left, don't change anything. Continue things the same way they're going on. So yeah, somebody's seeing the person's following the process, everything else, Somebody's qualified picking out a name. Somebody's chanting on the beads. Who is the guru? Who is Uttama Adhikari? Yeah, it's not an easy thing. Guru Tapa is a big deal. Balaram. Who knows Balaram? Even Balaram's increasing. Got to have a practical knowledge. One letter somebody asked, can I call Bhagavan Das my guru? And Prabhupada answers back and says, yes, but you should always remember who is your real guru. So, Kanista Adhikari can send people to the temple. Maybe they like Hare Krishna, they're chanting, they have a little problem with alcohol. But I know a person like that, but they send so many people to the temple. That's their level. They can take disciples, follow my discipline. I go to the Hare Krishna temple, right? Right? But they're not going to progress beyond his level of development. You know? Somebody else has taken second initiation, they're worshiping the deity. And for example, I'm a brahmachari, in the brahmachari body. But Radha Gokulananda in Berkeley, I had to bathe them, and Radharani does not have a top cloth. Imagine what this is like in being in a male body. Even if you're in a female body, you've got to bathe Krishna. You can't do this unless you can think of them as your little boy and girl or something. Yeah, you have to be able to control your mind to a certain level to be a pujari and take second initiation and so on. So it's not a small thing, Yeah, and so you are a guru in a very practical level. You may not be seeing Radha and Krishna carrying on their pastimes in the grove in Vrindavan and talking back and forth, but you're bathing them and you're dressing them with oils and this kind of stuff. So you are arranging, this in a practical sense. So Madhyamadhikari, and there's a big range of Madhyamadhikaris, right? They can take disciples, they can train them. But all of this is within the perspective of an Uttamadhikari. So when I initiate people, I make it repeated again and again. I am not presenting myself as an Uttamadhikari. Do you accept Prabhupada as A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami as your as an Uttamadhikari guru? Like that? Can you understand my relationship with him? Yes? Okay. I initiate you. But unless that's there, No. And so if you want to be initiated, as far as I'm concerned, if you want to be initiated in ISKCON, you've got to accept Prabhupada as your guru, and you have to have a relationship with him. But, many people try to approach Prabhupada for different reasons directly, jumping over other people. And many times the experiences they have were something, supernatural. They got their thing corrected very clearly about how we respect everybody. It's very simple. Trinadapi Sunichena Tarori Vasa Hishnuna. Everybody's my guru. Right? Radharani is that. But then understanding, other relationships and so forth, so on, and it takes some time. So that's one perspective.
Thank you so much, Maharaj.
Okay. So here we go. What's going on here? Okay. I gotta look at my transportation officer there. Okay, we got 2 thumbs up. Yeah. Okay, okay, first, second, yeah.
In Krishna book,
Oh my goodness, okay.
it's the last few pages.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Prabhupada says that
Yeah.
once a person begins devotional service,
Yeah.
their success is guaranteed.
Yeah.
And even if they slip in one life, they'll pick it up again later.
Yeah.
And it's mentioned in the Upadeshamrita in one purport that devotional service is so perfect that eventually Krishna will force somebody to become Krishna conscious. You know that verse because you read it a lot.
Yeah. So
And sometimes I meet devotees who have given up the practice of Krishna consciousness, and they have no intention of taking it back up again. Like Manini, I ran into her at Whole Foods, and I said, "Are you going to come to the temple again?"
Yeah.
And she said, "Oh, Hare Krishna was just a phase I went through as a kid." Or I met another devotee. I said, "How are you doing? You going to see us again at the temple?"
Yeah.
And he said, he said, "Oh, the name's Greg now. I'm all done with that scene."
Everything's okay now, Prabhu.
So,
Yeah.
if somebody doesn't want to come back to Krishna consciousness, even though Krishna says that they will, what's the criteria or the circumstances that might lead to them? Like in this case, King Indradumna kind of sort of came to his senses after a long time of elephant life.
Yeah.
So, in general, what is it that makes Krishna says he doesn't force, but then he also says that he does force to come back. So how is that? work.
But you just said in general, because why are there 18,000 verses to the Bhagavatam? Because it goes into a lot of detail, so that people can start taking detailed medicine, right? In general, I'm remembering one time in a darshan in Los Angeles by the Mula Prakriti, Devi Dasi, here, she asked Prabhupada, if somebody leaves, how can we tell if it was because of offense or because of accidental fall down? Ajamil is an example of accidental fall down, right? Right? He just fell down accidentally. Daksha is an example of offense. Daksha wasn't sinful, no? Daksha was offensive. And Ajamil wasn't offensive. He was sinful. Yeah. So she asked him, how can we tell that they left because of just an accidental fall down, they did something, or was it offensive behavior? And Prabhupada thought for a moment and he said, if they come back, it was because of accidental fall down. If they don't, that was because it was offensive. Yeah. So it goes into so much detail like that, and it can be a combination of both. Yeah. But yeah, okay. So I mean, Ajamil started hanging out with a Sudrani and all these, a little prostitute. Okay, and all these kind of things. And he came from a high-class family. So I mean, God, we can just imagine that all of his family members and the people in the village and stuff, and were like, hey, and talking to him and like, hey, you should come back and this and that. And he said, well, no, he was getting the invitations just like we see in ISKCON, right? But, he wasn't ready or something like that, Sriman Pandit, right? You remember Pandit, he told me this. He was in Vrindavan, he was, when we were establishing the deities there, and he had to do the arti on his back. He had some kind of infection from being in Vrindavan those first days. He was having diarrhea, and he had to finish the arti, and he was controlling himself. A terrible weather. Then he ran off afterwards. And all these things were going on, Then he came back to the West and got involved in the temple in San Francisco. Then he got married and he moved to Santa Cruz and opened a vegetarian restaurant. And after a while, he stopped offering it. It was just a vegetarian restaurant. But then he thought he wanted to go to Prabhupada's festival, disappearance festival. So he asked one of the women to take him, and maybe the same lady. And she said, well, Prabhu, I went through that already. I don't hang out with devotees much anymore. But because of social pressure, she was kind of forced to, to take him or something like that. Well, somehow or other, there was this thing was going on somehow or other, And maybe no, the other way around. He was forced to go. He didn't want to go, but he was forced because she didn't want to go alone. Maybe something. Okay, so he went there, and he said it was, he went to the temple, and people were saying, oh, Pandit, Hare Krishna Pandit. He said, Paul, it's Paul, No, not Pandit, I'm Paul. Okay, Paul, yeah. And everything was going on very nicely, and he was really careful. I don't want to get involved with the Hare Krishnas again. He had all of his force fields up and all his stuff together, and I'm Paul, and this and that. And then didn't wear tilak, washed his face 5 times, like that. Then he told me he went in, and then they had for the Guru Puja for Prabhupada, they put candles all around the top of the temple, and they had a swan carrier built onto Prabhupada's Vyasasan, and then they had the arti, and the lights went down, and the whole Guru Puja was going on. And I said everything was cool. He was wasn't getting involved. And he said from the time the fan went up and the fan came down to the bottom, it just blew away every single one of his defenses and everything else, because he remembered the bhava of sincerely serving Radha Shama Sundar in Vrindavan and stuff like that. And it just came back. He said he just went out in front of the temple, sat down in the box, started crying, like that. And somebody came out and said, well, Pandit, Paul, what's wrong, Paul? He said, Pandit. Pandit. And he said it was there, and, maybe he had some things he had to finish, some things he had to experience like that. You have weird dreams. I don't know if anybody, probably everybody here has had weird dreams. You don't want to describe how weird it was and what you were doing in the dream, But Prabhupada says you shouldn't be too disturbed by that, because you're supposed to go through this in real karma. You're supposed to become a beast and enjoy bestial things. But Krishna allows you to have it in dreams so you can reject it and not have to go through it grossly like that. So maybe again he was destined for a full lifetime or 3 or 4 lifetimes, but then Krishna was able to squeeze it all in, and maybe after 10 years, 20 years, it's quite normal. Yeah. It's over here. And, over here.
Hi, Krishna Maharaj.
Yeah.
My question is somewhat on the similar line. My question is on somewhat on the similar lines what Mr. Bhagwan Prabhu asked just now. I was just thinking, we've been hearing a lot, also in Bhagavad Gita it is said, right, little advancement done on this path can protect one from the greatest type of fear.
Okay.
Niha Vikramanashusti.
Yeah.
And also Prabhupada used to say book distribution is so important. Simply by touching the books, one is guaranteed of the human form in the next birth.
Yeah.
So how do we understand in this particular case, he's such a wonderful devotee and he is forced to enter into an animal body?
Because it's complicated. If material life is complicated, what to speak of spiritual life? Yeah. And so different people, and Prabhupada, he talks about these things. He says just by one thing, one experience, it can happen. And he says, right in the Nectar of Devotion, directly says, yes, this happens in some cases. It's not that it's impossible, but usually, it occurs by following the process and going through stages, which you can recognize like that. But it can happen in one moment like that. Yeah. So everybody's different. And then the Bhagavatam, Hansadutta told us that Prabhupada said that every single psychological circumstance you can encounter is in Srimad Bhagavatam. So if you go on reading these stories and taking them to heart and actually being there, your bhava, then you can see, I am like these two people. I'm a #1 book distributor in North America for 3 months this year. Yeah. Daksha. Right? You're expert at the Sankirtan Yagna. Yeah. But you don't know how to treat devotees. Right? And so you read the story about Daksha and you go, yeah. Calm down, fella. You're great, everybody's glorifying you and everything else and so forth, so on. But your little daughter's been pointing some stuff out for you here. Yeah. I got to start being a little more humble. So we can avoid these problems one after another, and the complications are there. But it's right Upadeshamrita, I don't know if I got it or not. Yeah. Okay. On the other hand, a devotee who has attained the title of a Goswami, but is not born of a Brahmin father, or a Goswami in the family of Nityananda or Advaita Prabhu, should not be artificially puffed up, thinking he has become a Goswami. He should always remember that as soon as he becomes materially puffed up, he immediately falls down. This Krishna consciousness movement is a transcendental science, and there is no room for jealousy. This movement is meant for the Paramahamsas, who are completely free from all jealousy. Paramam nirmatsaranam. One should not be jealous whether he is born in the family of a Goswami or has attained the title been awarded to him. As soon as anyone becomes envious, he falls from the platform of Paramahamsa. Yeah. So, yeah. But it's by free will. It's not because you just were confused or anything else. And that's the story of Maharaj Bharata. You made a conscious choice to push Krishna aside and I'm the best friend or whatever it is. And that's offensive. But even still, Krishna didn't give up on him, and he knocked him into the body of a deer, but he gave him complete remembrance of what was going on, and he was thankful. Your friend hit you by the head, and you say, oh God, thank you, I'm sorry, I just got crazy for a minute, thank you. Otherwise, let me go and do what I want to do. No, you saved me. Prabhupada ki jai. Anybody has any other questions, we can talk individually what we got to...
I was told we needed to
catch the airplane afterwards.
Yes, I was told we need to leave by 8:45. I just wanted to thank you one more time, Maharaj, for coming to visit. Thank you so much. Ki Jai. His Holiness Hanuman Prashek Maharaj Ki Jai.